What's up, gamers? Today, I would like to share the story of my most recent gaming achievement. I am the Speedrun world record holder in Bass Hunter 64. Honestly, this is the first real speedrun of the game. The other time is from Dark Horse's challenge to beat every N64 game. So it's really just a first playthrough that has been stitched together across multiple days of play. As you can see by the final times, I spent a good amount of effort exploring the game in detail to discover what kind of secrets it could be holding. What kind of sly time saves could a retro fishing game hold? But before I get too deep, let me tell you the reason I chose to map out and speedrun Bass Hunter 64. Not long ago, I watched a YouTube video that sparked an interest in me. From the 007 speedrun scene, GoldenEye's very own Goose, owner of the channel Goose's Gaming Folklore, made a video about lost media and potential speedruns. In this video, he told a story about a fisherman who would speedrun Bass Hunter 64 in his spare time. At the end of the video, once all the stories had been complete, he stated that nobody had ever actually attempted to speedrun Bass Hunter 64.
Well, if this one sounded like a fisherman's tale, it's because it is. This story was completely made up. In fact, not one single person to this day has completed a Bassmaster 64 speedrun. So have at that what you will.
Just like in Goose's story, I'm also a fisherman and a speedrunner. A Mario 64 speedrunner mostly. Being a speedrunner who commonly leaves the house, a rare breed indeed, I felt I might be one of the few with enough experience and a large enough connection to the story to make this speedrun possible. So I decided to get to work. I figured researching the game would be a pretty good start, but what I found was shocking. It's like the game was a ghost. People had run-ins with it, but nobody knew anything about it. It's like every single copy of this game was released, sold, and stuck in a basement shortly after being played. There was hardly any information on the internet about this game. You can find some game reviews about it, but all of them are just a few paragraphs, and they hardly explain anything about the game. What makes it even worse is that the people who write these reviews clearly have no interest in fishing or fishing games or anything of the sort. Check this article out from a so-called game reviewer named Tom Hall. He starts off the review with this.
I have to admit, if you ask me to make a list of real-life things I consider to be a good time, fishing is not on the list. So when it comes to video games, fishing video games are about as exciting to me as a rice cake diet. And if you scroll down a little bit to the tournament mode section, he has this to say. You are entered in tournament after tournament where you must place at least third to proceed to the next tournament. Which is false. You don't. That only applies to like the first half of the tournaments. The dude didn't even play the game halfway through. And literally 3 sentences later ends the paragraph with this. I will say this about the tournament mode. When you get to 30 minutes to go, there is an audible alert that makes me long for Link having half a heart of life left. Seriously annoying.
Thank you for summoning up the entire tournament mode with that final statement. Well done, Tom Hall. Clearly, we're not getting any information out of these reviews, so it's time to start doing the hard work ourselves. First things first, Bass Hunter 64 seems like a rudimentary fishing game at first glance. But once you start playing the game, you realize that it is indeed a rudimentary fishing game. You only have 2 modes, Championship and Fish for Fun. We can ignore Fish for Fun because for this speedrun, I will have to play through all 15 of the Championship mode tournaments. For this mode, you have to catch big enough fish to be placed in one of the qualifying spots. If you qualify, you will be allowed to progress to the next tournament, plus you will earn points relative to your position that can be spent in the shop to purchase equipment. In the shop, there's a plethora of lures, a few fishing rods, and even a boat up for sale. In essence, this seems pretty standard. The player is supposed to play tournaments, earn points to upgrade their equipment, and repeat, incrementally getting stronger as you go. But that's not quite how this game plays out. Remember when I said Bass Hunter 64 is indeed a rudimentary fishing game? Well, it's even worse. The bass are only ever interested in the starting lure that you have on your rod by default. You're given 2 starting lures, but the crankbait lure is 100%, without a doubt, the only viable lure in the entire game. Do you see all these lures? Useless. Absolutely useless. I explored every single lure Bass Hunter 64 had to offer, and nothing worked better than the starting lure. Most lures I couldn't catch fish at all. They just weren't interested. Check this out. I'm going to swap from the crankbait lure over to one of the lures that I bought from the shop. Okay, so this lure is right next to a giant fish. We're going to wait just a minute, just a little bit. Is the fish going to bite? Nope, fish is not going to bite. Okay, so swapping back over to the crankbait lure, the original lure that is on your fishing rod. And every single fish is swimming towards this lure. Look at this. Every single lure in the game is like this. It's mind-boggling. But honestly, this is the best situation a speedrunner can ask for. This means you don't have to fiddle around in the shop, picking out the most optimal lure for the most optimal lake for the most optimal tournament. You can just take this one lure and use it throughout the entire tournament series. But I am a bit disappointed that I don't get to use my fishing knowledge. Oh well. The fishing rods are a different story though. For each fishing rod, there are 2 different fishing lines to choose from. Unlike the lures, this actually affects how the fish will react to you pretty drastically. Like in real fishing, the bigger fish you want to catch, the bigger the line you need. But in Bass Hunter 64, this doesn't exactly account for everything. In this game, if your fishing line is too big, the fish just won't bite at all. They'll seem interested in the lure, but once they get close, the fish will simply turn away. This means you have to balance your line strength with the fish that are able to be caught. Seeing as the fish in the championship mode rarely go over 7 pounds, the calculations are pretty easy. 2 to 5 pound fish will be best caught with the 8 pound line. And for all the other fish, you want to use the 12 pound line, both of which come with your starting fishing rod. Now there is a fishing rod in the shop with 10 pound line, which is also viable to use. But after experimenting between the 10 and the 12 pound line, I decided that the time spent fiddling between rods wasn't worth the return. Now that we've gone over how the game handles your equipment, let's see what we need from the shop. We need 0 lures, 0 fishing poles, and 1 boat upgrade. Oh yeah, we're buying the boat. Funny enough, the boat upgrade is the most useful thing in the entire shop. It allows you to go much faster, helping you to mitigate the time accrued from the long treks across the lake. Finally, armed with some game knowledge, it is time for us to take a look at Championship Mode. When you first start up the game, you have to make a new career. You get to choose between your stereotypical fisherman, or you can go for the female character advantage. Just type in your name, and you'll be at the main screen. Championship Mode is a series of 15 tournaments of progressive difficulty. At the start of each tournament, you will be given a summary of the event alongside a fishing tip. Some of these tips can be helpful, but I've already done the hard work for you, so read at your own leisure. It's during this menu that you can enter the shop or buy items. You only have to enter the shop once in order to buy the boat, but that won't be until tournament 4 or 5. In each tourney, you will be able to catch as many fish as you like, but only your 5 biggest fish will count towards your total weight. This only applies to bass and not the bluegill or catfish. Those fish do not count towards your weight at all. Many tournaments will have 2 or 3 days with the weight from each day being added to the final score. You will not be required to catch fish in order to end the day. Many later tournaments allow you to choose different lakes to fish on. Hidden River, Shannon Run, Lake Palmer, Lake Chase, Dutch Hollow, and Lake Butler. There are 6 lakes in total, and I've done my best to explore each lake that is available inside each tournament, and after hours upon hours of gameplay, I am pleased to announce that each lake works exactly the same throughout the entire tournament series. Speedrunners rejoice! There are some RNG factors though. The same size fish do not always appear when you load into the lake. If you find yourself with mediocre fish, which you will, you can simply pause, restart the day, and the fish will be reset. If the tournament has multiple lakes to choose from, you can swap lakes, swap right back to find that the fish have been reset. Unlike restarting the day, swapping lakes avoids giving up any fish you have already caught. When the day is over, you will head back to land and weigh in your fish. During this cutscene, you will be given a daily score. This number has nothing to do with anything at all. You'll only be judged on the total weight of your fish. The first tournament brings us to Hidden River. This lake pops up quite a few times throughout the series and is always the preferred lake of choice. The fishing mechanics in this game are actually pretty nice. You are able to look left and right when aiming your cast. You are given a power bar to cast the line. You simply pull back and push forward on the joystick to choose how much power to use. Then press A to cast. If you don't like where your cast landed, you can press R to instantly snap it back and retry. To reel in your line, you hold either A or B. A is the fast reel, while B is the slow reel. You will mostly want to use the B button while fishing. You can also mash the L button to reel in your line. I don't know why you would do this, but you can. Fish prefer to bite the lure while it's not moving. So when your lure is next to a fish, simply tap the B button to get their attention. If the fish don't bite the lure within a couple seconds, try casting again. When the fish bite the lure, you need to wait a moment. After a moment passes, pull down on the joystick to set the hook. This gauge bar will be on the right-hand side. This tells you about the line and how much tension it can bear. The left arrow is where your tension is set, while the right arrow indicates where the line can potentially start to break. The higher pound line will have a higher right side arrow, allowing you to safely increase the amount of tension you can bear. You can increase and decrease the tension of your line using the up and down C buttons. If the left arrow is set too high, the line can break. If set too low, the line will be loose and the fish will get free. Not a bad system, honestly. You can crank the tension all the way up for the fish that are 3 pounds or less. The fish that are 4 pounds and up will start to break the 8-pound line. You can hear the line tension being tested before it breaks. If this sound persists too long, then you will break the line and lose the fish. On the bottom right, you will see how far away the fish are. Once the fish are within 4.3 feet of the boat, the fish will be caught. I try to keep track of how much my fish weigh, as to not overcatch. Each tournament relies on the RNG of your opponents to determine how many pounds you need to qualify. There is no way to predict how much your opponent's fish will weigh. Sometimes it's very low, making you feel silly for catching so many fish. While other times the number will be much higher, forcing you into second or even third place. The first few tournaments do allow you to qualify while being in third, but later tournaments will restrict you to first or second, while the last 2 tournaments of the series will force you to come in first place. To help you out with this, I made a chart. The chart tells you how many days are in each tournament, along with how many pounds you need to catch each day for said tournament. As you can see, the bottom row is much tougher than the rest of the chart, meaning this speedrun is going to be very, very difficult.
Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Bass Hunter 64 Championship Series. This series is a grueling 15 tournaments long, with each one becoming more and more difficult. We have a plethora of competitors, but all eyes seem to be on one yellow-bellied greenhorn. This is his first appearance in this championship series, known only as How are you feeling about this series?
Feeling pretty confident in my ability. Then catch the fish.
Do you have any strategy?
I'm going to find. We'll see.
What about any tips for the fans? just saving. A lot of you know. Well said and good luck out there. A look inside the mind of a top competitor is always so interesting. Let's head on over to our first stop in the series and get on with the action.
Here at Tournament 1, you want to catch 9 to 11 pounds of fish. For Hidden Lake, there's almost always some good-sized fish right next to the starting location. It's always RNG as to exactly how big they'll be, but these fish are normally larger than average. If they're small, you can simply press start and reset the day. This is my actual speedrun footage, so I'll speed it up. I only caught 3 fish this tournament, but I was pretty satisfied with the weight. Once you've caught your desired amount of fish, it's time to end the day. But there is a slight problem. The game doesn't allow you to simply end the day whenever you want. However, we can speed up time. Using the D-pad, you can maneuver the boat with a trolling motor. If you cast onto the shore and instantly snap back your line using the R button, you will accrue an 8-minute time penalty. On top of this, you can hit C right and change your fishing cast. The C right cast doesn't go as far as the overhand cast, but it does cast slightly faster. Doing these 2 things will allow you to end the day much faster than intended. Once the day is over, you will be able to see the tournament standings. Also make sure to keep track of how many points you're earning for each tournament. The boat costs 50 tournament points to purchase. Tournament 2 brings us to Shannon Run. For this lake, we have to drive over to the ideal fishing spot, right here. While standing in the boat, in the cast-ready position, you can hit R to bring up a small menu. This menu allows you to do a few things. You can change your rod, don't need to do that. Change your lure, don't need to do that. Drive the boat, we need that. See the fish you've caught, useful. And finally, the compass allows you to check the tournament information. This is also where you will change lakes later on. For now, we just need to drive the boat over to our preferred spot. Once in the boat, this throttle will appear on the right-hand side, alongside a map of the lake. Holding A will push the throttle forward, while B will pull it back down. But I like to leave it right here. Once at your location, just hit R to bring back up your menu, and click on your character to instantly stop the boat and start fishing. There are always some good-sized fish right by this dock and ramp. Fish around until you have caught 10 to 13 pounds. Just like the last tournament, we have to run down the clock by casting onto the shore. Tournament 3 has us back at Hidden River. Despite the game changing the season on us, the lake plays exactly the same as Tournament 1. With the only change being that you need to catch 12 to 14 pounds this time. A quick tip. You will not scare away fish while using your boat. You can make use of this by getting right up next to the fish, allowing you to catch them much faster. Knock it off, Jerry. You're scaring everyone away. Tournament 4 takes us over to Lake Palmer, where we need to catch 12 to 14 pounds of fish. Make sure to take note of the lake conditions, because we will need to do a bit of searching. Found him! I was just messing with you. These lake conditions change nothing about the fish. Although at Lake Palmer, you do need to let the lure sink a little bit before reeling it in. These fish are deeper than the ones we encountered before. Tournament 5 has us at Lake Chase. There's a bit of a difficulty jump, resulting in 16 to 18 pounds being required to qualify here. We need to use the boat to move up the coastline just a bit. You may need to throw out a few probing casts in order to find exactly where the fish are located. Oftentimes, the fish will form a line. Maneuver your boat so that you can cast directly into the school. Before going on to Tournament 6, we need to buy the boat. Tournament 6 takes place at Dutch Hollow, which has the longest boat ride of all the lakes. The extra speed from the boat upgrade can save you a lot of time here. If you get unlucky and don't have enough points, then it's not the end of the world. In fact, this actually happened to me during my world record run. I got unlucky and placed second in 4 of the past 5 tournaments, which is the first time that ever happened to me. Dutch Hollow requires 13 to 15 pounds of fish. This can be super fast and easy, or it can be pretty brutal. This first location is normally host to 2 or 3 large bass. You can sometimes swap to your 12-pound line here and make life a bit easier, but the fish are not always on board with that idea. It's about this point in the speedrun where you have to start making some decisions and taking some chances if your goal is to move quickly. If this first location doesn't pan out very well, like in this run, you can move over to this log. It will normally have a few extra fish swimming around it, which can be very helpful. Tournament 7 is the first 2-day tournament of the series, and it's also the first tournament where 3rd place is no longer an option. Tournament 7 also allows us to choose multiple lakes to fish at. You can choose between Hidden River and Dutch Hollow. Hidden River is the obvious choice here. It will be exactly like Tournament 1 and 3. The tournaments start getting harder at this point, so you might have to reset your fish from time to time. You will need to catch 15 pounds of fish each day to qualify. Once you're done fishing and it's time to end the day, we are going to change lakes instead of casting onto the shore. Open up your menu and scroll all the way over to the compass. It will bring up the information page, which is where you can swap over to the other lakes. Changing lakes accrues a 30-minute time penalty instead of the 8-minute time penalty accrued from casting onto the shore. This is going to seriously speed up time. Tournament 8 is another 2-day tournament. You can choose between Lake Chase and Lake Palmer, but Lake Palmer is the better choice here. The fish are essentially right at the spawn location, as seen in Tournament 4. Once you have 14 to 16 pounds of fish, you get to practice your lake swapping skills again. R-A right A, R-A right A, R-A right A, R-A right A, crap! R-A right A, R-A right A, R-A right A. Tournament 9 is a 1-day event featuring Lake Butler for the first time. This tournament can be a hard one. The fish don't like to get far above 3 pounds, and you need at least 15 to safely clear the tournament. There is normally a school of fish not far from spawn. I like to use this island as reference. Get it lined up with the front right corner of your boat, and once you start to pass it, take a slight left. A quick reminder that Lake Butler is the only lake available for this tournament. And you know what that means. Tournament 10 is the 3rd and final 2-day event, only requiring 12 to 15 pounds each day to qualify. You can choose Shannon Run or Dutch Hollow to fish on. Either one of these lakes is a valid choice, leaving the decision up to you. I chose to go with Dutch Hollow because the bass are larger on this lake, but the risk of getting some bunk RNG is also greater, which is kind of what happened. I was able to make up for it quickly, but decided to fish on Shannon Run for day 2. Fish these lakes like you did previously, and make your way to the next tournament. The devs decided to loosen up for Tourney 11. We are headed back to Hidden River for a 1-day tournament. You could also pick Dutch Hollow or Shannon Run, but that would be silly. Once you catch 15 to 18 pounds of fish, take your freebie and run. The devs quickly tightened back up with Tournament 12, being the first 3-day tournament. You get your choice between Lake Palmer and Lake Butler, with the winner of this Lake Choice Awards going to Lake Palmer. Tournament 12 is certainly where things start to get very tough. 3 days takes a while to play through, and you need to catch 15 to 18 pounds of fish each day. It's not so easy to find consistent fish above 3 pounds this late in the tournament series. The fish do seem to group up with other fish that are of similar weight. This is not always true, But for these longer 3-day tournaments, any clue pertaining to larger fish is worth checking out. Tournament 13 allows us to breathe one more sigh of relief with our last 1-day tournament. Although they do screw with you a bit with the lakes, letting you pick between Lake Chase or Lake Butler. I don't really like either one of these lakes, but Lake Chase is a bit more consistent in my opinion. Repeat what you did in Tournament 5 until you have 16 to 19 pounds of fish. Try to take advantage and make quick work of this last 1-day tournament. Tournament 14 is where drastic measures begin to take place. This is a 3-day long tournament and you must come in first place in order to qualify. Luckily, we get our pick of the litter when it comes to the lakes. There's Hidden River, Shannon Run, and Dutch Hollow. I think Hidden River... This is no small task, as you need 17 to 20 pounds of fish each day. I try to catch 20 pounds for the first day or two, because it is much easier to play from ahead going into day 3 than it is to play from behind. You don't want to get stuck desperately trying to catch enough fish to avoid replaying the entire tournament. Fish this lake like there's no tomorrow, and do whatever you have to do in order to secure that number 1 spot.
The final tournament.
We actually have a bit of a hero's arc brewing here at the final tournament. Your only goal here is to beat out the local fishing pro, John Swan. Mr. Swan is quite the fisherman in these parts. He forces you to catch a minimum of 20 pounds each day. The game doesn't do you any favors in regards to lakes either. Lake Butler, Lake Chase, and Lake Palmer are your options here. Lake Palmer is my go-to, but be warned, it's not like the lake chooses me back. Like Tournament 14, you want to be ahead going into day 3, but it won't be that easy. John Swan can and will catch 60 plus pounds of fish across the 3 days. So don't end any of the days before you are certain that you have not left any big ones behind. I wish I had more tips for you here, but my last one is simple. Win.
I don't know if I can win this one. John Swan will be there and he's the best. Son. What was that? Son. Dad. Down here. Dad. What are you doing in this lake?
It doesn't matter, son. What truly matters is what's in your heart. Now get out there and win this tournament.
Okay, Dad.
18 pounds is really good. I don't know how much more you can get, honestly, in a single day. We did it! That's time. Confirmation that we won. Woo! Speedrunning this game has been a wild ride for sure. Many people who grew up with Nintendo 64 have played or at least seen Bass Hunter 64 at some point. I've had many non-gamers share with me their stories of Bass Hunter 64. Most of them were of simpler times, playing this game with their dad or brother after renting it from Blockbuster. This game truly has history behind it, and I'm very happy to have been able to leave my mark on it. I want to give another huge shout out to Goose's Gamer Folklore, seeing as Goose was the one who gave me this whole idea in the first place. Goose is an amazing gamer and YouTuber who has me entertained with every video he releases. If anyone watching this video also watches Goose, you may have noticed some subtle elements of this video paying homage to Goose and the way he edits his own videos. I hope this completes your story, Goose, of the fisherman who had aspirations of taking his skills to the virtual world. The fishing was fierce, but I think I came out on top. Thank you, Goose, for the inspiration. I hope everyone enjoyed watching and learning about this old forgotten classic. Do you have any past experience with Bass Hunter 64? Share with me your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear about how this video stirred up some old forgotten memories. Also click that special red button for me. I have a lot more commentary style content on the way. And with that, a huge thanks for watching. Stay true, my friends, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.